Hi there, RC Girl here. So today I'm here to talk about how to pick out the best servo for your RC car. So these tips can really be used for any car out there, but here I have the Traxxas TRX-4, and I'm going to use that as an example of things to think through when picking out a new servo. The stock servo in this is notoriously not so great, and I've been looking for something that's higher torque, and I picked out the Traxxas TS910 from Hobby King. And I've had really good success rates with these. I have this in my Basher Sabertooth, a little bit lower torque version of this, and I really like this servo so far. So today we're going to install it and also talk about things that you think through when picking out a new servo. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Here you'll find reviews, tips and tricks, run videos, and other things related to RC. So if you're interested in seeing more, please subscribe and hit the like button below. So how do you pick out the right servo? Once you start looking, there are so many out there, different sizes, different speeds, different torque settings. So you really want to know the needs of your car. And for crawlers, you want something that's going to be pretty high torque. Speed is not as important, but it's always good to have something that's going to respond really well. You also want to be aware of some of the power settings. So first is the operating voltage. You want to make sure that you're getting something that's going to be rated to the ESC power output. And so the ESC in my car has an internal BEC, and the output is 6 volts. And so you want to make sure that you get something, the operating voltage is within that range. And this one is rated to 6 to 7.4 volts, so that's going to be perfect. If you want to run it at the higher power setting, you're going to have to get a BEC, but I'm just going to use it at the 6 volts that my ESC puts out. So the next thing you want to be aware of is your torque settings. So that's the rotational force that the servo is going to put out. And that's what I really did not like about the stock servo in this one, is that when you would turn the car, it would stall out and it wouldn't be able to kind of right itself back in the center. And so this one is a lot higher torque. Your torque settings are usually given in ounces per inch or kilograms per centimeter. And in America, we use ounces per inch. And I know people have been saying in the forums that you want to have something that's around 200 ounces to 400 ounces per inch in the TRX-4. I think the one that it came with is around 150. So I was looking something in the range of around 350. And this one I think is 360 ounces per inch, and that's really going to be a lot better. And also if you're running bigger cars, heavier cars, you're going to want a higher torque setting. So in my 1/8 scale truggy, I think this is actually rated to 1/8 scale monster trucks. So I think it's going to work real nice for this heavier car. Another thing is that you don't want too high of torque. If you get on the higher end, you're going to start snapping parts. And so I wanted something that was going to function well, but not break all my linkages. So the next thing you want to be aware of is the speed settings of your servo. And so this is usually given in something per second. And this also depends on the voltage output of your ESC. So if you're running at lower power, it's going to not be as responsive. But I wanted something that was going to be pretty decent response. And especially in race cars or something that's going to be going fast, you want to make sure that you have a really responsive high-speed servo. So the next thing is the size of your servo. And to me, this was a little bit harder to figure out, but there are standard sizes. There's like the mini, the park, and I think this is like the 1/8 scale, but it does fit in this car. And so that's given in the length, width, and height. And with this one, you have a little bit more clearance with your height, so you can kind of be flexible there with that dimension. But the length and the width are pretty set unless you want to modify your car. I would say that make sure that you do have your length and your width right. And you know what I just did is I took my stock one out, got this little measurement tool and measured it. And then you can go online and find those dimensions. I found it really helpful to look on Hobby King's website. You can put in your length and width and height dimensions, and basically it'll spit out all the servos that fit that. Next thing you want to be aware of is whether your servo is waterproof. Some come waterproof already, but a lot don't. And I would say don't let that limit your choices of which one you're picking out, because you can always waterproof something yourself with Corrosion X or some other type of lubricant. And so I'll put a link to a video about my winterizing waterproofing of how to do that with your electronics. And so I did select something that was not pre-waterproofed, and I want to make sure that I go in, unscrew each of the top and the bottom, and make sure that I coat that really heavily with Corrosion X and make sure that this is going to be waterproof, because I do run this in water and want to make sure that I'm not going to burn out my servo like I've done with my Basher Sabertooth truggy servo. And next thing is cost. There are huge ranges of costs for servos. You can spend, I think, around 20 bucks for some entry-level, pretty decent servo, up to like $100 to $200, which is kind of crazy. So I would say make sure you know the torque that you're looking for, the operating voltage, the size, and really shop around. And I think I spent around $40, $45 for this one. It's not the highest end, it's not name brand perhaps, but I do trust Traxxas. I've used it before, and I think it's gonna meet my needs for sure. And so you don't have to drop tons of money on name brand stuff to get really quality products. And also, as a secret, I've heard that this is a rebranded high-end servo, so you can buy the same exact one as a name brand, and it's going to be 2 or 3 times the cost. Just do a little research on your own and see what you can find at a cheaper price perhaps if you're on a budget, which I am. The next thing is your gears, and definitely for these crawler higher torque needs, I would say do not go with plastic gears. I've had a ton of gears strip out on some of the lower end cars, and even those I've been upgrading and spending just a tad more money to get metal gears. And I've even found that they have one plastic gear in some of them. Supposedly that's to be kind of like a servo saver, so you're not stripping out all your gears. I kind of think that's a little bit BS, because once you have to replace one gear, I mean, I don't know. Go if that works for you, but otherwise I would say make sure that all the gears are metal. So if you're just getting a completely new servo and doing a build from the ground up and you don't have a stock servo to compare to, look around at what other people are putting in that car, and perhaps if there's the kit version and the ready to run, look at what the ready to run stock settings are. And so I know in this one, the ESC output is 6 volts. My torque settings are around 125 ounces per inch, and the speed, not quite sure about the speed, but I would say use that as a base. As I mentioned, I went into Hobby King, I put in the dimensions that I needed. You can also sort by torque and speed settings. I think I actually ordered this on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below, and it came in 2 days. I've been waiting to put it in because I wanted to do this video. All right, so let's take this on the trail, and this is with the stock servo, and we're gonna see kind of the stalling out that I mentioned, and then we'll compare it to after I install the new servo and see what that looks like. So let's take it out on the trails. Here I am on my homemade crawler backyard course. Been putting in a ton of features, so we're gonna test one out on one of the features here and give it a go. Okay, so here I'm trying to wedge myself up against this little piece of wood here, and I can't even turn the servo. And then this is the stock servo running at 6 volts, 125 ounces per inch, I believe, of torque, and it's stalled out. So here, let's try another feature. Yeah, it's not really gonna work, is it? So with the higher torque servo, you're gonna be able to basically kind of get out of these situations a lot better. So this has nothing to do with servos, but I did want to show you guys my newest feature, which is this rope bridge that I built. Whee! Cool. So as you can see on that short trail run, it's hard to get the wheels to turn, even on the easiest of features, and so that's just due to the torque setting. So we're gonna take this one out, put in our new one, and take it back out on the trail and do a little comparison. So one thing I did get is 5 new aluminum servo horns. And so one thing to be aware of with these is you want to make sure that the teeth on this match up with the teeth on your servo. And so the servo that I have is 25 tooth. Got these for about 10 bucks for 5 of them. Great deal. You can also spend a ton more money if you want, but check Amazon. I'll put a link to these in the description below. So I just plugged these into a Y-splitter, and we can just compare them side by side and see what they look like. So I'd actually say that this one is a little bit slower speed. And so depending on the application, speed might matter more to you if you have a racing car or something that's really high speed. But I didn't really care too much about the speed. I didn't want it to be too slow. But the fact that it's a little bit slower speed doesn't matter too much in my application with the crawler. But I want to make sure that definitely have a lot higher torque. So let's finish the install and see how it handles on the trail. All right, we have our new servo installed. It is freaking awesome. Whoops, it's a mess. I work messily, but I'll clean it up. So there we have it. I even think like I can even turn further. Crazy. It may not be as fast, but you know, what's the point of being fast if you can't turn it? So let's put a body on, take it outside, and do the same test with this new servo. So last time I was here, I would turn into the log and it would basically just stall out. I couldn't even turn it. So one thing to be aware of though is that you are going to put more stress on your linkages. Okay, so here's the second feature. Let's try it out. No stalls here. Yeah, I remember last time I would stall out even on one of the rungs. Not this time. All right, there we have it, folks. Hopefully that was useful for you as you pick out a new servo. Just installed a new high torque servo, my Traxxas TRX-4. I think from the comparison, this one's a lot better already, I can tell. I got a couple videos down the pipeline. I have a new review from gearbest.com, and also I wanted to do a second episode of my course. And lastly, I did want to do a video about some of the upgrades that I've done to the Traxxas TRX-4 kind of 2 months in, give you an overview of some of the things that I've done to it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you later. Or see you later. So there we have it, folks. Hopefully this was useful for you as you... Was it useful for you?